Map Studio is the geospatial mapping interface for IFTDSS. The widgets in Map Studio are documented in Help Center, but we'll go through a quick rundown of each widget here, its location in Map Studio and what it does. Starting in the very top left, the search bar allows you to search for specific locations and zoom into those in Map Studio. Under the search bar are the zoom functions, zoom in and zoom out. And you'll notice as we zoom, there's also a back and forward zoom button towards the middle left part of the page. So I can zoom back to our previous extent or forward. Between these two and the main zoom in and out buttons, there's a zoom to extent. So we could click on this, highlight an area with a rectangular extent, and zoom into that specific area. The home zoom icon zooms us back out to the entire map extent. And you'll notice in the bottom left, there's the map scale and our coordinates that track along with the mouse cursor. Looking at the widgets in the bottom center, the first is layer list. There's nothing in here right now, but if I were to go add a landscape, we can see that the landscape would be populated and visible in layer list. So layer list can act as the legend for Map Studio. Here we can see, for example, on the landscape, fuel model is turned on and the corresponding colors for each fuel model are visible. We can also turn on and off different layers. And a lot of the controls for these layers are visible in layer list. So from here you can change transparency, apply a mask to view certain layers just within the extent of a mask. For shapes, you can also use this option menu to change shape symbology. And as more layers are added to Map Studio, those will populate here in the layer list. For example, clicking our second widget in the bottom center, Add Layers. This is where IFTDSS reference layers and any shape files, or map values that we create are added to Map Studio. For example, if I were to click on wildfire parameters, select that IFTDSS reference layer, I can see it's populated now in layer list. And if I were to zoom out, I could see some of these wildfire parameters here. Zooming back in, if I wanted to add shapes or shape files that I've created, My Layers from Add Layers is the place to do that. And these can be filtered by extent, file type, or file name. So for example, I'll add a treatment unit. Close this out and we can see that the treatment unit shape is populating in Map Studio. And from options, we can see a change symbology option here. So if I wanted to change the fill or border for these shapes, I could. Upload shape file. Just to the right of Add Layers is where you can upload shape files to IFTDSS from your local computer. And the requirements for this are documented in the Help Center. To the right of Upload Shapes is Landscape Tools. And this is where landscapes are created, uploaded, or added to Map Studio. So for example, I could draw a rectangular extent and create a landscape that way. I could also create a landscape based on the extent of a shapefile or shape. And once you select your bounding area, there's options for Landfire version and Fire Behavior Fuel Model. You can also upload a landscape from our local machine as well using the Upload tab. Requirements for this, again, are listed in Help. But Landscape Tools, Upload tab is where you could upload a landscape. To the right of Landscape Tools is Simulation Outputs. So any fire behavior models that you created in IFTDSS, those can be added to Map Studio using the simulation output tools. And again, we could filter by extent, by type, or by name. So if I select on an output, it'll add this to Map Studio, and we can see it's also been added to layer list. Right of simulation outputs is create edit shapes. So from here, you can create polygons, lines, or points in Map Studio and save those to Workspace. There's also an option to copy existing single part or multi-part shapes. So for example, if I had a reference layer visible in the map as a polygon, I could copy that here using create edit shapes. Right of create edit shapes is base map gallery, or I can change the base map in Map Studio, and there's several options here. Right of base map gallery is the measurement tool, where we can measure distance or area. And you'll note here we can also change the units. And as soon as you close the measurement widget, these will disappear. So more of a useful tool while working in Map Studio. There's the Add Graphic tool. And this allows you to add various symbols or shapes on your map. On the far right is the Print widget. So this will print our Map Studio view as a PDF. And this is a widget that is currently being implemented in IFTDSS, so it's here, but you'll notice some changes and enhancements as time goes on. For the latest documentation on the print widget, that is in IFTDSS Help Center. Looking in the bottom right, there's the attribute table widget. This is currently available for vector layers, so shape files, map values, and IFTDSS reference layers. For example, if I selected the fire perimeters reference layer that we have open here and unchecked the filter by extent, you can see the data in this table is populated, and there's options to filter this. You can also select specific parts of this data set and save it as a shapefile. In the top right, the first widget is bookmark. So this allows us to create a bookmark to return to later for the extent and open layers that we have in Map Studio. So I've got a landscape and fire behavior output open. If I wanted to bookmark this to come right back to it later, I could select create new and create a bookmark that would be available from Workspace. And for any bookmarks I've previously created, those can be accessed in Workspace or accessed here by selecting the Add to Map tab in the bookmark widget. You can see any bookmarks we've created previously will be available here. To the right of bookmarks is Identify. This allows you to select points on the map and view the data for that specific pixel. To the right of Identify is Swipe. So Swipe allows you to swipe back and forth between active layers in Map Studio, either vertically or horizontally. By default, all layers active in layer list are active in Swipe. Right now I've got landscape fire behavior as my top layer, but if I were to select this and select that flame length part of landscape fire behavior as my top layer, I can see it's now only active in the top, and the landscape layer underneath is visible on the bottom. And this can also be used in conjunction with Identify as well. And in the very far top right is Overview, which simply shows us where we're zoomed into on the larger map. And this was a very brief overview of where the widgets are at in Map Studio and what they do. For detailed documentation on each one, you can select Help, and there's Help Center. So if you're on the Help Center main page and you scroll down to Map Studio, there'll be a Map Functions section. And Map Functions Overview. And from here, there is an overview on each one of these widgets. For example, upload shapefile. We can see exactly what the criteria are for uploading shapefiles and how that's done. And that is a very brief tour of Map Studio.